Uh,
I can tell you, I am so vegan. I sent my kids to play with hissing cockroaches tonight, or not
I've
tonight,
done that with
today.
my kids. They ate all of them.
No, I didn't. I didn't. I just thought it'd be funny to say that. I was trying to make a ha ha for the
My son
show.
had hissing
I did
cockroaches
not.
for like 4 years. I hated those things.
what do you have? What do you have over John's face here?
It's
Can
the
you move
Skype.
that down to
It's
the
the Skype
bottom
menu
right?
window.
Or yeah, perfect. Thank you. That's all. That's all I need, so we can see
He
the.
he likes
See the
he likes seeing my face. Do you blame him?
uh,
This show's already up to the. It hasn't even started yet.
we haven't even started. Haven't
Yeah,
started.
let's
Saying,
start it.
Start?
Let's
haven't
go.
Started.
You're listening to episode 211 of PHP Ugly. We are a weekly dose of PHP happiness and goodness. I'm in a positive space right now. This is going to be an awesome show. Thank you for joining us. If you're just listening to the audio stream, we stream every week, Thursday night, starting around 9-ish, depending on when Thomas decides to get the stream going. And the cool thing about participating in the live stream is you see some before show, you see some after show. We also allow audience participation through any of the chat clients on YouTube, Twitch, or Periscope. And then, of course, you can always join us in our PHP Ugly Discord, which has a role I want to talk about this week. But before I get to that, I am your host, Eric Van Johnson, and with me are my fellow developers, John Congdon.
That was a very good intro so far.
And Thomas right up.
That was an excellent intro. Good work, Eric.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You know,
We're all
I-
about the
I think
positivity. We want to fuel your positivity.
Yeah, I had enough negativity tonight.
we got a lot of the PHP Ugly Twitter account. Got a lot of follows. Actually, we got a lot of new signups for subscribers to our YouTube channel.
Thank
That's
you,
the
Harry
only one
Mack.
I kind of track. No, I'm pretty sure we gave Harry Mack a little bump. I'm sure he's looking at his Spotify numbers like, what happened last week? Got like 6 new listeners. Yeah, I'm sure. Sure that's how it went down. Harry Mack, I can't even tell you how many times I listened to that. And it is, I think it has, I had to splice together another version of it to make it like the outro, because I didn't need him like wishing our channel good vibes and everything every show. But that 100% is our outro now. I love that song. I couldn't get enough of it. I'm pretty sure my wife and kids were done with me.
My wife kept rolling her eyes because every time we'd run into somebody new as we're just talking, I would say, "Hey, did you catch this week's show?" And I like show them the video, and she's like, "You're doing it again?" I'm like, "Yeah, yes, I am."
What do you expect me to do? Not
She
show
walked
every
in-
single person?
Exactly. That's still the coolest thing. I loved it. Yeah.
Good.
Oh, how's everybody's week been so far?
Pretty non-eventful.
John?
Very eventful. I hate Thursdays. I mean, I love Thursday nights. I like getting together, talking with you guys, but Thursday mornings, oh my God, they're such a pain in the ass. Am I allowed to say ass, by the way?
There's a reason. Well, we need to get to that as well. But there's a reason why
Later.
your Thursday mornings are a little bit more challenging than usual, right?
Yeah, so Wednesday night is release, the standard release cycle for Phone Burner, and I swear every week it's something different. And this morning it was a combination of a few things. From I had release code last week and saw some issues with it, but it wasn't critical. And I made comments saying, "But I do have a PR that if it goes live, it will break this." Yeah, that PR went live. I forgot to go to the PR and make a comment on that saying, "Do not release this until this other PR is released as well. Like they had to go
So
together.
this was like a to-do
And-
in your PR that said, to-do, mention other PR in PR for this PR.
Yeah, something like that. It was more of a.
Good.
Good. I was gonna say it was more of. I mentioned it in passing, like, hey, there's this issue, but it's not critical because we haven't removed this other code. But once that code gets removed, this is gonna break.
So we have some pull. I mean, we've put things out there in the ether before, and they seem to happen. I'm gonna do it one more time. In the event we have somebody at GitHub listening to us, let me pitch an idea to you. And you guys tell me what you think, because I know I run into this frequently. Wouldn't it be cool to be able to flag a PR as a dependency on another PR so that you physically couldn't merge it unless the dependency was met?
Yeah, that would be a good idea. It would still require me going to the PR. I could have just as easily gone and put into the description and added a label like "Do not merge."
Yeah.
And within the comments saying, "Hey, do not merge until PR XYZ is merged in."
Mm-hmm.
By the way, they're not letters; they're all numbers. But anyway, so I mean, it's there, but yeah, it would be nice to have like an actual. You can't merge this until something else gets merged.
And I guess the argument could be made that if you do have a dependency, why wouldn't you just merge those two to make a new PR?
You can. It's.
Yeah.
I go back to I like small PRs when I'm reviewing. I want the PR small, and if I then merge those together, the person that is reviewing has to trust that nothing else has changed unless they go through every single commit and say, yes, I did sign off on all of these.
When again, we're talking very specifically about GitHub. I know people use other solutions out there, GitLabs. Is Bitbucket still a thing? I feel like Bitbucket's still a thing.
Yeah.
But GitHub has a really cool feature now where you can actually check off the files you review. And then if the PR is updated, the way we have ours set up is that if I review a PR and I approve it, and I try to make it a habit to go in there and check each file I review. If a change is made to that branch, my approval is reverted out. Now that's something I think we had set up. My approval
it's an option.
Reverted out. I'm notified again that I have to review it. But if I go to the files, the only files that I see are the changed files. So all my others are still collapsed because they haven't changed.
Yeah, it'll say this file has changed since your last review.
Yeah.
And there's also some interesting shortcuts within that files page too. Like I think it's option click or one of your super keys click will collapse all the files automatically for you or expand them all.
Oh, didn't know that.
Which is handy when you got a PR with hundreds of files and maybe you're looking for a specific one fast, or you're like, I can skip all of these because they're all, CSS, and I don't care about that personally because I don't review that. So just some interesting tidbits about GitHub.
So I mentioned that I wanted to get back to our Discord. And if you were in our Discord, or if you're in our Discord, you already know that one of our shows got flagged on YouTube and got marked as not for children or explicit content or something. And
age restrictions.
Age restrictions. I went back and listened to it, and the funny thing about it, it's an old show. It's episode 88. It's a show that I'm not even in, so it couldn't have been too bad. And I went back and I kind of cruised through it real fast. I have no idea why that thing got flagged. It's so weird. It's so weird. But yeah, you two, I can't leave you two alone.
It was probably Steve. Steve probably went in there and reported it.
I don't know if you know this, and for the people who follow me on Twitter, you should all know I'm a stalker, motherfucker. I will stalk people. I gotta tip my hat to Steve. We did I did an interview with the person who's organizing Larabellas, which is a user group focused around Laravel development, specifically for individuals who identify as female. So it's kind of a whole thing. And Steve had actually donated or gifted a code for Laravel Ideas, which is a PHP Storm plugin, to Larabellas. And I saw that tweet come in. I'm like, hey, I know Steve. He doesn't like us. He did say he listens to us now, and we're a tongue-in-cheek podcast that he listens to. So.
Yeah, we've gotten significantly more likable.
That was actually. Yeah, I thought of all the body parts he could have described us with, tongue-in-cheek seemed okay. I wasn't.
Well, he didn't say which cheeks.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're coming here looking for like a super serious PHP podcast, you're probably gonna be let
we've
down.
got a couple of those in the bag, but you'd have to dig to find them.
Yeah, we should flag those for like these are actual podcasts for professionals.
Oops, all serious.
But our Discord channel stepped it up this week as well. Somebody in the Discord had shared the fact that they had gotten compromised, and then they shared a link to a YouTube video of what they thought had happened to them.
The big bad news Laravel hack.
The exploit. Yeah, and it was cool because everybody, I tell you, man, it always amazes me how smart people are. And the Laravel, the PHP Ugly Discord channel is no exception. The people who jumped in and started offering feedback on that, it was dynamite. And I think everybody kind of nailed it. It was, a few questions were asked, and it's like, I'm not sure this is a Laravel issue as much as a server configuration issue, blah, blah, blah. And to Taylor's credit, I did ping Taylor on Twitter, DM. I didn't want to publicly announce something without letting him know first if it was an issue. But I did ping him on DM, and he did reply. And he basically, by that time, we had already kind of figured it out, or had already had our suspicions. And Taylor kind of said the same thing. He goes, "It doesn't look like doesn't appear to be an issue with the Laravel framework." He says, "I think they're just using that as kind of a target. It seems to be an issue with the server." And I just said, I think we all kind of agree.
What was happening? Was something being leaked?
Yes.
Yeah, so you tell Thomas, you're the security guy.
It looks like it was a tool that was just scanning a wide range of domains for poorly hosted .env files, basically having them a directory up from where they should be. So it was, I'm not sure why he was targeting Laravel specifically in the video for this attack, but he was basically just scanning for people's ENVs being publicly available.
How would you get to... Yeah, that can't be a Laravel thing. Plus, Laravel is hosted in the public document root, and the ENV file is not in there. So,
so
you're saying Apache was misconfigured to allow directory traversal?
That's one way that this can happen. Or if you have the ENV package installed on some other thing that you've built, because ENV is not a Laravel specific thing. It's a package by, I'm sure, Spady. Who else?
Nah, there's a few out there.
But the ENV stuff, if you install it incorrectly and don't pay attention, don't know what you're doing, then it can just be in the public directory. So it looks like that's what he's scanning for. And his demo script runs very, very quickly over hundreds of domains which tells me it's not doing anything really intelligent, and it's not doing what's called footprinting. It's not checking for validity. It's just launching the attack, and if it succeeds, it's returning the values.
I don't even remember.
It was looking specifically for AWS keys.
Yeah.
Or things like that. Like known keys, not just anything.
I don't even remember how he was identifying Laravel apps now that I think about it. I just remember that was, I think it was in the title.
Right, it is in the title.
And I think, again, he was only targeting, if he was targeting Laravel apps, I think it was just because he knew where that .env file was in relation to, whatever file he was hitting, I assumed. I don't know.
But that video didn't show the actual exploit, right? It was just, hey, look, I put in this list of IPs or this list of domains and I can get AWS keys.
And here's my PayPal account. If you send me $70, I'll do it for you. Yeah, that's pretty much all. It was just a commercial.
Yeah, that's the other thing is that's not one of the official, like, usual ways that hacks like these are distributed or even advertised. So I get the feeling this was some college student who thought they stumbled across something amazing and didn't know what to do with it. So,
but it was, hat off to Taylor for replying. I do appreciate that, and hat off to the ugly Discord, man. The guys the individuals just popped in there, and really just kind of help this person out. It was nice. I enjoyed it. It was cool. Some good conversations going on in there, and what's horrible is that we're rarely a part of them. Like all these great conversations happening, not including us.
Yeah, I was summoned to ban a spammer this week, and that was the most of my participation.
Oh, I didn't see that in Discord. Oh, I missed that one. Cool. Speaking of not being a part of it, last week I'm editing. I was so ashamed of this. I'm editing the podcast, and as we know, I had system issues last week, and the system crashed. Hopefully, I can make it through a show this week, and that's not an issue. And it was very questionable what got recorded, what didn't get recorded. Well, there was a pretty significant amount of conversation that I had with you guys, and you guys were replying to me. I could hear you. I told you my whole screen had frozen by that time, and I just assumed everything was recording. And it was right before the system actually took a hard dump. So in editing it, that audio was lost. So it picked back up when I came back in, and then there was a certain point where it stopped recording. But because I knew the conversation, I could tell that John was responding to me.
You did not.
Now the sad part is my input was not missed. Like like the show flowed perfectly fine without me talking. Like it was you and John talking, and even though you were responding to me, it didn't really seem like anything was being missed. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm not even going to try to fill that in. I just left it out.
Well,
whatever.
So, but we saw that you were frozen. We knew you weren't there, so we just kind of kept rolling.
No, but there was a time, like when I initially froze, you could still hear me, I could still hear you, and it was still recording. Mm-hmm. At some point, it stopped recording. You could still hear me, and I could still hear you. And then it took a dump, and it completely crashed.
So you're saying during that time where we could hear you, that wasn't actually recording?
Yeah.
And it wasn't missed?
It wasn't missed. It just sounded like you were just kind of randomly, putting thoughts out there. I forget.
Kind of like I normally do anyway.
Pretty much. Yeah. It seemed to all flow perfectly fine. I'm like, oh.
That's just John. He doesn't know how to talk very well. Oh man.
Okay.
I had some fun this week with the pipe character.
The pipe.
Gotta love the
pipe character.
The pipe. The pipe character. Gotta love
What
that.
did you do with the pipe character?
So it's just legacy code. This code is 20 years old, and back then JSON wasn't a standard. It wasn't the way to communicate between two systems, and it's just never been updated. So it was just sending pipe delimited information. I'm going to send, to a microservice type of system. I'm going to send a bunch of information, pipe delimited, and then all of a sudden, one user just couldn't do phone calls. So they asked me, like, can you look into this? It's very weird. Yeah, they put a pipe into their last name. It was a company, and they're like, it's this company, pipe something, and it just broke everything for that one user.
Perfectly reasonable.
So frustrating. So I'm like, oh, if I just change this to a colon, I bet it works. Yep.
Well,
so now
the industry that I'm in, we get attacked all the time. So our sanitization is just over the top. We have to check for emojis, foreign characters, Unicode, everything.
That brings up another issue that I had this week, and I'm curious, when you're saying you're filtering for that, are you storing the full data, not necessarily on an attack, but let's say you get legitimate input? Are you filtering and actually changing data, or are you storing it as is in the database?
We filter at the request.
And then escaping and filter / like, do you reject or do you alter data and then put that into the database? See, I'm doing that too, and I'm having this pain in the ass issue. So months ago, there was this big security audit trying to deal with Salesforce security, and they legitimately found some potential loopholes, some potential SQL injection type things. So we had already had HTML purifier in the code base, and we hit it with a sledgehammer instead of going in and fixing specific issues. We're like, let's just use HTML purifier on all our input. The problem is you can't turn off the ampersand change. So in a lot of our data, it changes ampersand to ampersand AMP semicolon, which is a pain in the ass trying to, do searches on, or, it displays fine in a browser, but you output it to text. It's messy. You go to do a search for Johnson & Johnson, and it doesn't work because in the database it's now AMP.
Yeah,
so everything
I don't have
I've read
a solution
is
to that.
no, you don't alter the data. Yeah, well, the solution is you're not supposed to alter the data on the way in. You're supposed to filter it and reject it if you don't like it, or let it in and then escape it on output so it doesn't.
That might be some high-minded idea of what you should do, but the reality is sanitizing your output everywhere that you could possibly have it is a lot easier, or is a lot harder than sanitizing your input the one place where you have it. And
right.
I agree. If you're worried about attacks, you're importing data into third-party stuff that does reporting, and it could screw with your reporting. Or if it's a JavaScript, if it's an injection type attack and it gets into your intranet instead of where it was supposed to and does damage to your intranet, it's if you want to store, like event sourcing style, if you want to store all of that log data somewhere that never gets read out of unless you're doing another event sourcing sweep through it or whatever, that's one thing. But to store bad data or malicious data is like, it's just a bad idea.
Right. Well, I think the point is if it's you should be checking to see if it's malicious and rejecting it, but not altering what you actually store. And that it's easier said than done. And like I said, we went in there with a sledgehammer. Is like, we're just gonna do it this way, and it's costing us now in trying to figure out some of these issues. Really, the only issue right now is the ampersand. If we could just figure, and there's so many posts out there about HTML purifier and them converting ampersands, and there's no way to really turn that off. So it's just a pain in the ass.
We focus heavily on engagement with what I'm doing, and we don't want to do anything that would stop engagement. So we don't want to do anything that would prevent a user from just saying, well, I'm not going to browse the site anymore. So we modify the data and say, like, yeah, this might not be what you meant to say, but you also don't need 300 eggplant emojis. So
on a separate topic, I actually was saved by a weird database thing today.
What's that?
I think one of our member accounts was hacked by someone in Pakistan. And I happened to be looking in Bugsnag, and all of a sudden I'm like, I see this weird error, and there's like 600 of them, which when it comes to the Bugsnag error count, that's a lot for the stuff that's in there. So I'm like, crap, something else was released. I broke something. What happened? So I'm immediately starting to look, and the error message is definitely in code I've written. And I'm like, how is this bad? And I go and look, and it's hard to explain, but when you make a call to a specific contact, you get a record in the database. If you make another call to a different number on that same contact, there's just another record with instead of a call number 0, it's now call number 1. That call number happens to be a tiny int, so it only goes to 127. So once they got to call 129, so they would try to put in 128, it failed. It threw an exception. So I'm like, this is really weird. I thought I broke everybody's stuff. And I'm just like, I'm doing all these queries, trying to figure out what's going on. And I'm like, wait, it's only affected 4, we call them dial sessions, 4 sessions in one account. And somebody's like, well, we use Full Story. Maybe you can look in there. And if you don't know Full Story, it's actually a great service where it kind of records your users' actions through a website. So you can say, this is user 1234, and then you can go to Full Story and say, show me all the sessions for 1234.
Nice.
Went in, pulled this user session. I could see them going in. Could see they were from Pakistan. Could see, not that there's something wrong with Pakistan, it's just outside the US, which is unusual for this service. And I could see them get into a session, and all they're doing is copying and pasting a phone number into a field and hitting dial, and then hitting a button to basically send them spam, and then just constantly doing that. If they had used the product legitimately, they would have got away with it. Like if they would have, done it a few times, but then moved on to another contact, like maybe do 100 calls per contact, they would have been way different. But they had access to the entire person's account. They could have just imported contacts into their system and just legitimately called, one phone number per contact. Right. But obviously they were trying to get away with as much as they could, as quick as they could.
That's what always bites you in the ass.
So Full Story, if you're listening, you owe us some money for advertisement.
I can't wait until the text and phone call political stuff is over with. I'm getting like 30 texts a day.
Yeah. I respond stop to every single one of them. Like, leave me alone.
I haven't shared my number. I so don't use my phone for phone stuff. I just use it for it's my internet device. Like when my phone rings, it freaks me out. It's like what's going on? What is that noise? It sounds like a ring. Yeah.
Hey, do you guys want to help a listener that follows us on Twitter?
Always.
I mean, I don't want to keep taking over the show if you guys have other stuff you want to talk about, but
We've already established I don't bring enough to the table, so you should just keep talking.
So, Greg Wilhelm, G-Funk Bass on Twitter, reached out and was asking about they are now doing work from home, and they're accessing their database through a VPN remotely, and just asking, about slowness and all that. And I've been through this. I mean, I dealt with that for years, and often it comes down to you feel that your database is so crucial to your code, and you need the data that's in there, and you don't want to have it locally. That you just deal with, I'm going to have a remote connection, and then we're all going to use the same data, which is great to a point, but it does make for very slow local development.
Yeah, I don't even think it's great to a point. I think it's okay if for some reason you need to check data integrity. I mean, I guess it does get harder with legacy apps because, before, if you don't use some sort of migration system in your application, tables can be getting added, columns can be getting changed, and if you have no way of pulling that down locally, that can be challenging. So I guess
migrations is a big part of it. There are also legacy apps. Again, having dealt with it personally, sometimes your apps are written so tightly coupled to the data in your database that if you don't have a mirror copy of specific data, your entire system breaks. So that's what I dealt with for a long time. And we actually, one of our biggest clients has that, where, what is it, like a 60 gig development database?
Right. I was actually going to talk about that. I mean, we've dealt with this a couple of ways. For the one client, I think, John, you might have even introduced them to the concept of migrations. And even though it was a legacy application, you guys settled on a migration package and started introducing migrations, which is good. But yeah, to John's point, sometimes there's just such a tight integration there, you can't get around using it. In that case, what we ended up doing is we wrote a script that will grab the latest copy of the database. So the database gets backed up on a regular cycle, and the script actually grabs a copy of the database, rips out 95% of the data. So it goes from whatever it is, 60 gig down to a workable size, and then, brings that locally. So the developers still have a local version, but yeah, they do have to remember, oh, something's not working. It looks like a database issue. Let me refresh my database, and they have to kick this whole script off again. That does it. And it's not a quick process. I mean, just downloading the file takes some time. So,
but there's steps for you. You start with an actual, grab a copy of your development database and bring it down locally. And if the problem with that is, well, we don't want to have a copy of it remotely, it's like, you've already have access to it. If you have access from your development machine, you might as well have a copy locally. Personally, that's whatever. Then start to take the steps of figure out a way to trim down and get rid of the things you don't need. Try to anonymize the data that is real data. If it's real names, try to figure out if you can get away with using some sort of package like Faker to fake the data as you put it into your development environment. Then start to look into migrations. And all I did was created a simple migration that recreated my database tables that existed today, well, at that time, put in the required data that was needed to make the system just boot up and run, with a sample user to get things going, and then make sure that doesn't run in production, obviously. And then just use that migration system moving forward.
It could also be an indicator that you have some optimization issues. If you're selecting star from your database instead of the fields that you're actually using, or if you're selecting a large number of rows and then in the application filtering it down from there, you could be tasking MySQL more than you need to or not enough. Usually
but even just that remote connection is going to add quite a bit of latency when you're working locally compared to when you're on the same network.
There could also be a solution with creating a virtual disk, possibly running MySQL as a service locally through a virtual disk, or a MySQL client. I don't know if MySQL's as good at that as Oracle is.
This actually wasn't even a MySQL database. It was a DB2 database. So, but yeah, I get. I had actually never even heard of that approach, Thomas. That's weird.
Well, with SSH, you can do a lot of wonderful things.
Oh yeah, I love tunneling. Yeah. If there's one skill you should learn as a developer, and it always amazed me when my job was operations and I didn't do any development professionally. Like I did scripts here and there for the operations team, but I didn't develop applications. It always amazed me how little the developers knew of operations and how to configure servers, how servers communicate to one another, all that. So if there's one thing you should know, learn SSH, because there's so much you can do with SSH, and tunneling is the first thing you can learn. You can tunnel things, and it just changes everything.
I agree, but that's not going to solve this specific issue.
Yeah, I was going to say, in the case of Greg, they're already connecting through a VPN, so that actually doesn't address his concern.
Right, and he did respond to me on Twitter. It is a legacy app, which I guessed at, and it is connecting to 10 different dev databases. So, yes, the recommendation is create 10 databases locally with the bare minimum of data to get your app up and running, and go from there. Did you see Buttery's comment in Discord about this?
And I agree. It's a very old style of remote development.
Yeah. So I'll just reiterate it to. Go ahead.
So somebody want to read Buttery's comment for the listeners?
That's what I was going to do. Yeah, connecting to a central dev database is insane. So he says everyone connecting. It seems insane. How does that even work when you're working on different branches and possibly doing migrations or changing tables? It is insane. I did it for years. It works. You can work through those issues. Usually, as long as you're not touching the tables that other developers are making migrations for in whatever feature you're on, you're not going to run into issues at that point. So it usually doesn't matter when you're working with a central database. Having a central database does have its perks. When you hand the code off to somebody and they're looking at the same feature with the same exact data that you tested with, and they can recreate those scenarios, it's nice. The fact that the central database is often a mirror copy of production, you can be testing with production data, even though it's not a good idea to do. I don't necessarily recommend it, but that's the way it worked for years. Was the dev database was at some point a snapshot of production. So when a legitimate user said, "Hey, I'm having this issue," you could actually log into their account in the dev database and have all their same data in case it was some setting they had that you can't figure out or recreate locally because it's a
Right.
big system. Or maybe it's the sheer amount of data that they have that's causing the issues. So there are so many reasons why a central database has its perks, but for day-to-day development, you should be doing it locally with a very slimmed down database.
Don't disagree.
Good.
Well, that makes for a very boring show.
Okay, how about Google getting sued by the Justice Department?
Oh, why now? Just out of curiosity.
Why not?
It's politically motivated.
Isn't everything politically motivated?
This
Hey,
one
Thomas,
particularly.
why you're putting these just random things out there? Have you gotten your Firefox scene working yet? It would be nice to share Firefox with people.
I do have. Nope, oh boy, that's gonna crash my computer.
Okay, don't do it
No,
then.
it's
Don't
doing
do it. Oh
Oh
no!
god.
Oh no! You frozen.
What did
Are
you
you
do?
are you on your Linux system?
No, I'm
Okay,
I'm
okay.
on my Windows machine.
Windows. All right, you're back.
No, I don't have
I
my
see you're back.
I don't have Firefox on here right now. I don't even know why it's not working. Why? What is it you would like to share?
Just whatever article you're about to talk about. I was going to suggest putting it up there for the people who are watching, so they don't have to look at our ugly.
Oh my
mugs.
gosh. Hang on, before you go there. In Discord, Yasha N is talking about working on a central system to the point where only one person at a time can be using Xdebug. I'm assuming they have to log into the server and change. Actually, why is that, Yasha? You should be able to use the remote connect back feature of Xdebug, so it can connect back to you specifically,
Yeah.
not hard code an IP address in there.
So he's on a delay, so it's going to take him a little while to respond to that.
Right. Just something to look into. If that's the reason, if you're logging in and changing the remote host to your IP address, try looking at the remote connect back.
Mhm.
Also, it's Xdebug, which is
Yeah.
impossible to use.
What are you talking about?
I
Xdebug is
constantly
awesome.
have problems with it.
Then you're doing it wrong.
I'm always calling John like, hey, I got this new project. Can you help me with my Xdebug configuration?
So,
But yeah, I do love it. Okay, Google abuses its monopoly by power over search. So this is the whole. They're suppressing the right wing. Is that what
so
this is going to be about?
that's the motivation.
If they're saying that in a lawsuit, they're not convicted. It's a lawsuit, which you can say anything you want.
Well, so the DOJ says that Google is using its massive power to force Google to be the default search for Android and for Chrome, and to force Chrome onto users and that kind of stuff, and that they're cutting deals with other companies to do revenue sharing, which is pushing out smaller, quote unquote, search engines like Bing, and
it's Windows IE all over again.
it
isn't
is. It's really the same complaint. My issue was that Google's response was they're not forcing anyone into any position. They have no problem sharing the search space with anybody, and that if this lawsuit goes through, then it makes finding quality search results more difficult for the consumer, which is a kind of a weird way of saying we're not doing any harm, but if you stop us, then it will do harm. Like, not that I disagree with them. You don't want all your new phones coming with the Xiaomi default search engine.
This is true. Speaking of Google, a couple points with Google. John, this is a constant irritation with John and I, but not against each other. I think we kind of agree with it. But did you get the notification that Google is doing away with Hangouts as a messaging platform now, and not forcing you over to any of their other messaging platforms like Chat or what's the other one? The
Duo
video one, Duo. No, they're making you use yet another messaging platform called Messages.
Now,
which is already a thing from Facebook and from iPhone. Is iPhone Messages or is that messaging?
I think you might be
They're all
mistaken
called
on
Messages
this.
now.
Well, I have a link here you can click on if I am mistaken.
So I'm currently running
And
Google Messages.
Oh, is it a thing now?
Messages for web is the SMS client.
Well, so this is going to become the chat client. And what did look promising is if you use Hangouts, to use Hangouts on your computer, you had to have it. Well, there were a couple of workarounds, but basically you had to have a Gmail tab open, and you could use messaging in there. And if you watch the video that they have now, it looks like they're going to have a standalone messaging app. Finally, a proper.
I have Hangouts as a separate
they do not.
thing on my computer.
No, you have it as a Chrome extension.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, but it's not a separate.
You have
app.
you have to have Chrome open for that to
Put
work.
Electron around.
Messages does not even. Messages does not have that. Messages is still just in browser. I was looking today for a download and there isn't one.
Well, yeah, because Messages
And
for web connects to your phone when it's on Wi-Fi and sends text messages through your browser. It's an SMS thing.
But see, I get my text messages through Hangout, which I like. I'm actually okay if my messaging service and text messaging all move to this Messages. It's fine. It just seems goofy. Google can't seem to figure out what messaging solution they want.
I have
a download link.
I'm just
here,
very
John.
confused because I don't get Hangouts through.
For your phone.
Yeah,
I don't get SMS through Hangouts at all.
What? Well, then you're doing it wrong. Well, you don't have Google Voice.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Oh, is that how we do it?
Yeah. So
interesting.
Hangouts was my SMS app, and I'm probably going to move back to it because Messages is only SMS, where Hangouts is SMS and more.
But like I said, I just got an email today saying that Hangouts is going away, and your messaging is going to move to Messages. I thought Messages was a whole new thing.
No, I've been using it for years.
Google is crazy with all their we're going to sunset this and sunset that.
Mm-hmm.
And they say that they're not going to sunset Stadia, which is their gaming platform, which is crashing miserably. Yeah.
Oh, really? I'm just now realizing I can have this on my freaking browser now. So this leads me into another good example. I think I've switched back to Chrome this week. I think I've switched back to Chrome. With my transition over to the Linux desktop, it was hard because they actually built a bunch of built-in functionality with Firefox. So if I'm watching a YouTube video on Firefox, I have this global menu on my desktop I could go to and pause the video and things like that. And I've been using Firefox, I don't know, I feel like a couple years now. Maybe it hasn't been that long, but it feels like I've been using it for a while. And I kind of started fall out of love with it when they let go a prominent PHP developer who was working for Mozilla. I'm like, all right, well, I don't feel like I need to support them for that, but I was still kind of trying to support their message. So I continue to use it. But with my move over to Linux, Chrome has this awesome integration that basically any web page you can turn into an application, and the application has its own icon. It creates a I can search for that particular application. So the example I have is one of the applications that I didn't have a default install for was Notion, which is a documentation app that I use. It's kind of like Evernote, sort of like Evernote, but it's like this integrated database thing. And I use it to run our weekly stand-ups, our weekly meetings. So it's one of those applications that even on the Mac, it was just an Electron app. It was I saw no difference between the application and the web page. So I open up the web page in Chrome and I say, hey, make this an application, and it does that. And now I can just launch Notion without launching the Chrome browser, but you do. The Chrome browser is still launched. It just isn't evident. So I have had a couple applications like that that I've switched over to this Chrome application, and then just like yesterday, I'm like, why am I using Firefox when like I have this split world I'm living in, and so I just stopped. I stopped yesterday using Firefox, and I think I'm back on Chrome. I don't know if I'm going to stick with it.
You're not. You never stick with anything.
I don't.
I'm surprised you've been with DiegoDev this long.
Oh man, that's
I
true.
Change.
I know. But you own the company. I do. Can I go somewhere else?
So it's that time of night where we haven't lost everybody's attention yet, and we haven't completely trailed off. So we want to thank our patrons.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, you changed the list.
Yes, the list is updated.
Yep.
People specifically requested that they be removed.
We won't call them out by name. Yasha.
It's no longer want my name associated with funding this endeavor.
Hope we helped you with your old problem in Discord. Somebody had brought to my attention. I had forgotten when I set Patreon up that there was supposed to be a Patreon channel in our Discord that only Patreon members got into, and then they were also supposed to get a role attached to them as well, so people knew they were Patreons. And one of the Patreons reached out to me and said, "Hey, I didn't get my role assigned to me." I'm like, "Huh? Oh yeah, I forgot about that." And I went and looked. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, none of that's set up anymore." So I need to go set all that up.
Buttery, I just asked about that in our private Slack channel.
It's sorted by how long you've been with us.
It's a place of honor, Buttery. It's a place of honor. You should what Buttery? Matter of fact, you should just make Buttery's font just a little bigger than everybody else. Just let them know you're doing a good job there, Thomas.
There we go.
Jeez.
Sort all of that out.
Yeah. Nice.
Oh,
nice.
so. Buttery, I'm on your side here.
Our Discord. We have a request for what our Discord URL is.
If you're watching the stream, it is in the stream.
Discord.gg
we can post it.
/B, V, 6X, DT.
Let me just post it, please.
Post it, and can we change that to a DiegoDev URL? Diego.dev/Discord. We have that domain.
and then just do a CNAME or something. Yeah, we can do that.
Just do a redirect over there.
Yeah. That's a good idea. I actually used to have that for YouTube. I think if you go to YouTube or yt.phpugly.com, it might still do that. I'm not sure. Here is the Discord coming in hot in all the chat channels. Wow, that did not go well. YouTube, what are you doing here? YouTube has to attach its freaking. All right, let me try that again.
If it makes you feel any better, only one person was asking, and they got into the Discord, so.
Oh, Risky Banana! Welcome to Discord, Risky Banana. Nice, good to see you. We could pay for Discord and actually get our PHP Ugly domain back as well. Somebody had gifted that to us when we first started Discord. Our invite used to be discord.gg/phpugly, and then I guess that was only good for like 3 months or something, and it ran out. I don't know how we got it, but it seems like not worth like.
Is Discord a paid service? I didn't know that.
There's paid tiers, so you can pay for a tier where you can customize your invite links. You get like extra stickers and stuff. I mean, things that our people aren't really interested in. We're geeks, right? We just want to geek. But the only thing I'm interested in is the custom URL. So
which we can create and just redirect people to.
Exactly. We'll create a custom URL that redirects. Matter of fact, I think I can do that live. Let's see. We can test that while you guys are talking about this next thing.
Well, I'm going to have trouble talking about it because I haven't watched the latest fireside chat from Taylor.
Oh, right. So this is kind of cool. Taylor Otwell, the creator of Laravel, has been kind of doing these fireside chats, and he did one a couple weeks ago. I think he kind of did it out of frustration.
Yeah, sort of an emergency fireside chat.
Yeah, this is, we brought it up on the show about him talking the whole echo chamber, Laravel Elite sort of topic. We kind of touched on that, but we've been dealing with this pandemic for so long, and user groups have all but kind of died off, and there's a couple of virtual user groups. I know the guys up in Vancouver PHP still holds a virtual user group. Occasionally there's a few user groups on the East Coast that will get together and hold a PHP user group. There's this new global Laravel user group that for me it's a time issue. I don't particularly ever jump on it. But I think Taylor has now taken to spending about an hour, half hour, an hour, just doing like these little fireside chats where he just pops on YouTube and people start asking questions. And I watched this latest one, and it's really just him fielding a lot of the questions that are like bouncing around out there that people don't know where to go to or who to talk to get good answers for anymore. And some of them are very routine questions like, hey, is Laravel good enough to run, in the enterprise? That typical
I'll
sort of
field
questions
this one.
are for a business. and he takes the time and answers
Steve,
them.
can you pause for a second or just mute us and then come back in like 2 minutes? Or 10.
And then he then of course you can always tell the more serious Laravel developers who have some deeper questions, and so it's good. It's been good. I think it's been good to kind of get that feedback loop narrowed down a little bit. I hope he continues doing this. I think the ecosystem out there kind of enjoys it, and what's happening? Do I need to stretch a little longer here, Thomas? What are you doing?
I can tell you that the more I use Laravel, the more I kind of get annoyed by some things, and that's just me and personally. Although I did write a bunch of tests this week, and it's all feature tests, so it's all hitting the web server, which is great. It's letting me test things that haven't been tested before, but it's not quite the same testing I'm used to doing. But I can't figure out how to do that because of facades and some other issues. And I'm just not that good of a Laravel Laravel developer right now.
Yeah,
Excuse
and that
me.
really is like a full-on course from J-Way.
But even there, I'm not finding all the information I want. I went looking and wasn't able to figure it out.
Well, I'm not sure what you're looking for, but maybe you can let me know. I don't know. I might be able to help.
Do you unit test with
John, I'm busy. I'm making things happen here.
Yeah, and you can't. I can't help you with that. I can help Eric with his pagination issues, but I can't help with testing, unfortunately.
You did help me. Now, Thomas did help me with a pagination issue today, and I am actually very curious whether or not was that like a complete like shot in the dark for you? Did you just guess
we
that,
use that,
or
the appends functionality, which adds to the get query?
I didn't even know that was a thing, man. I was so happy you had turned me on to that because that was exactly
it adds to the get query?
Yeah, so when you're doing pagination, it assumes that the page you're on is the full URL minus the rest of the query string. So if you want to paginate something that needs that query string, then you have to pass it in. And Laravel at some point introduced a with query method, so anything in the query gets passed through for pagination. But we've been using appends, which allows for passing specific get variables through.
So what is the get? The get isn't on the database query. It's what is it on?
The request.
On the.
Yeah, so.
But isn't the get variable already in the request?
It is, but when you do pagination,
confused.
it strips it out for the links at the bottom of the page.
right. So when you do pagination, it gives you the number of results that you asked for the pagination. So in my particular case, that's exactly what I wanted a person to be able to pass. I wanted them to be able to pass how many results they wanted per page with a maximum set at like 500. And so you could, in your GET request, it was an API endpoint. It was all GET requests. In your GET request, in your initial GET request, you could pass per page equals 100.
Mm-hmm.
Then the Laravel pagination system would say, okay, give me the first 100 results, and then create a link to page 2. So that's the naming convention it uses. It does it by page. But what it wasn't doing, it wasn't saying, give me page 2, the next 100 results.
Gotcha.
Right. So with Thomas's append command, it added that. It just said, okay, keep the per page count as part of that link, as part of that next link thing. So it worked out really well. I do appreciate that.
I just Googled
it. Well,
let me Google that for you.
I know. I felt like an idiot because I spent a good amount of time Googling, and I don't know if I was asking the wrong question or what the hell was going on, but I
knew exactly what I was looking
Google
for
trolling,
just because I've dealt with it so many times before. So it was an educated Google.
So have you finished your migration, John, to Laravel 8?
Pretty much. It's running on Laravel 8 just fine. I've got new migrations, and just because I got new seeds. I didn't have all the data I needed prior. I had migrations for the new stuff that I've created since putting it into Laravel. Mm-hmm. So I created an initial migration to create all the tables that had already existed. I created seeders to give me the bare minimum data I needed just for my testing so that I could get tests running in CI. I am testing all the endpoints, and luckily I was able to use Loggly, actually AWS CloudWatch, to go see all the web requests that were coming in, and then basically filter out, okay, I've tested this endpoint, let me filter that out, and slowly work down and got probably 15 different routes. Again, it's a small microservice, so it wasn't that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep, I got it all done. Actually, I think there's one more route that isn't actively used that I need to just put tests around just so I have them, and then figure out some sort of testing scheme before pushing it to production.
Well, then you'll love today's good news.
All right.
Laravel
What's that?
8.11 came out.
It's Thursday. You act like it's like we're supposed to be shocked. It's every Thursday, man. Get your head
I know.
around
I
that.
don't like it. I'm not happy with it.
Well, you just recently updated to a Laravel. You just migrated to Laravel 8.2, didn't you,
Yes.
Thomas? Are you done with yours?
I am done with mine. It took a long time because of dependency hell. And
Well, you spent a lot of time with the Webpack move, right? Wasn't that one of your bigger
not related.
challenges?
That was a separate ticket started
okay.
a year ago. But
Gotcha,
that ticket
gotcha.
was required to be finished and merged in order to make the 8 upgrade. So I had to finish that one and force it into production. But it's all worked out now. We get surprisingly few hits on Bugsnag for as many hits we get on the website.
Interesting. Okay, I think I got this. I'm gonna call it Discord. I'm gonna call it discord.phpugly.com. Let's see if that works for us. That's not gonna work. Hold on one second. Everybody can try it. Let me see. I think I finally found our DNS here. Add record. Okay. So now if you go to discord.phpugly.com, it might go to our Discord channel. I don't know. If I know what I'm doing, it'll work.
I'm not saying anything.
You're not seeing anything?
I'm getting a
Okay, so
404.
Discord.phpugly.com.
Why are we doing
Yeah,
this
that's
live?
a 404.
I'll
Because
never know.
it is a 404. Why is that? That should be a C name. Well, why do you think it's wrong? Because Eric doesn't spell things correctly the first time around?
Possible.
Yeah, that's probably
Yeah.
why. That
Never.
sounds correct.
It's got that 24-hour
Try that
propagation
again.
on it now, though, so you're stuck.
No, that's not true because it was a 404 error, so it'll
Plus,
say,
it was the wrong domain name. You're going to create a new domain.
yeah, Discord. Now see if it works. Does it work now? No, I think you're right. I think it is. I think it is caching.
It can't cache. It's got the wrong. It was spelled wrong. You can't cache that.
What you typed in was right. Discord.phpugly.com.
Oh, yeah.
So that.
So check back with
I'm
us
trying to
later.
look-
You
That'll
can
work.
flush the cache.
Yeah, it's still
just not
saying,
going to.
You can't just flush
seeing
DNS
404.
cache for other people.
Yeah, you can. You can actually flush Google's DNS cache. You can put in a request to have it flushed.
Yep.
It's a thing, man.
That is true.
I don't know what I did wrong there. Sure,
The
that's
number
right.
of hotfix PRs I opened today.
I wonder if
Holy
this is.
cow.
I wonder if I have to take that out. Maybe that. Oh, I wonder if I can not go to. Well, that's not right either. who handles our freaking DNS, man? For Christ's sakes. All right. Fix that.
Well, as you can tell,
All right.
Sounds like
we
we're
are
winding,
winding
down.
down hard.
We're droning off.
You're. Never mind.
Trying to get us banned on YouTube.
Yeah, does that count as a
Alright.
strike, or did we just
That's
get
it.
recategorized?
We're just not safe children.
Yeah, they just added an age restriction on that one show, and again, I couldn't even figure out why it was. So whatever. It was like a 3-year-old show. I mean, it was show 88, so it's, year 2 of what are we on now? 4, 5, 6? We figure this out every now and then, but all right, it doesn't matter. We're on show 211, and it's done. It's in the book. Feel free to hang out for a little while. You're going to get jammy. We're going to get down with the new PHP Ugly anthem right after this. Thanks for listening. I'm Eric.
I'm Tom. Keep it ugly.
Keep it ugly. Nice little transition there, Thomas.
That's what it's for.
I keep calling you Thomas. I gotta start calling you Tom.
Don't care.
Hey, Yasha, try going to yt.phpugly.com and see if that sends you to our YouTube channel. It does. Yeah. That works. So why does that one work? And
you said you misspelled Discord you misspelled Discord the first time.
Yeah, so it must be a cache issue now. Yeah, it must be a cache issue.
I don't think I'm doing Rocket League tonight. I'm pretty beat.
What? That's fun. I am. So there.
Well, fine.
So I was telling Tom, the System 76 guys are helping me. Oh, by the way, Tom, are you guys okay with all the fires?
1, 2, 1, 2. Coming off the top, y'all know how we do. Listen, I'ma drop a freestyle you can cherish. I'ma send a shout out to the host named Eric. Yo, he's never on some average shit. You know, Eric, he stays loud and passionate. I'm about to break it down for y'all with the clever song. Yo, shout the host named Thomas, cause he's never wrong. Yo, shout to John. You know that he's smart and quiet, unlike my freestyles, which cause a riot. I'm about to do it like this, cause the people love me. Shouts out to PHP, the ugly. It's called ugly, cause it's not professional. But I'm about to come through and bless it with style. So let's do it when I'm spitting, I perfume the room. Yo, the segment of the show is called Doom and Gloom. That came from Thomas. Yeah, can nobody go beyond this? I get the mic and then I'm about to keep it like a promise. Yeah, and y'all know we fill them up with anguish. We talking about the PHP, the programming language. About to break it down, no exaggeration. What do y'all do for a living? Web applications. Okay, I can dig it. My words very tight. They getting together on the Thursday nights. Yeah, when it comes to rhyming, you can call me the new dude. I spew true lyrics while y'all broadcast on YouTube. So let's get it. You know my lyrics are major. All up in the comments, they got plenty of haters, but they doing what they doing. Keep it ugly. We ending every show with the saying it's lovely. Let's go.
I'll send you the new one I made, Thomas. I cut out, like, it just fades off. I need to dial it in a little better, but that doesn't get old to me. I tell you, it doesn't get old.
I'm a big fan.
And I added him to my my Spotify.
Oh, hey, I'm gonna kill my local recording. That's a good idea.
Hey, good idea. I should do the same. Stop that. I didn't crash today. So I was I was saying, you guys are okay with all the fires out there? It's going crazy in Colorado.
We're not having any problems in Colorado Springs.
Thomas?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear him. I can hear him just fine. You can't hear him. Really? Seriously? He stopped his recording, so he can't hear us.
And my screen's frozen now. See?
I see it moving. What are you talking about? Oh, now it's yeah. It's still moving. What are you talking about?
I can freeze it at will by looking at something else. No, not tonight. I'm beat. All right, everybody. Yep. I'm going to lay down and have some beer and pass out on the couch. Have a good night.